Friends, we are here in Xi'an Town, Bao'an District, Shenzhen. Look at these factory buildings in front of us. Their doors and windows have all been dismantled. This industrial park has been mostly cleared out. Currently, too many factories in Shenzhen have moved away. Look at this industrial area. From the front to here, all the factories have moved out. These buildings have been emptied, their doors and windows removed, and the area is now cordoned off. Next, these large buildings are going to be demolished. This year, I visited many industrial areas and seen numerous factory buildings emptied and dismantled. I really don't know what's going on. Guangzhou is no longer sustainable. The factories here in Shangcheng Clothing Factory are going to be demolished. They are all small factories, and dozens of them are inside, all to be torn down. Oh, so many people are going home, returning home for the new year, and they won't be coming back next year.
A large number of unemployed people are lining up at the train station, going home for the new year 4 months early. How hard is it to earn money this year? Just look at this shopping mall and you will understand. Even the mall is reluctant to invest money in itself. See how difficult it is to do business here. The shops inside open and close and then open again. Now most of them are empty, and some of the open ones are subletting. On the first floor, there are businesses like clothing, food, beauty, and gold. I asked a gold seller how business was this year. She said she didn't know what was going on, but it's been hard to make even a few tens of thousands yuan a month. I walked around the mall and indeed there were very few customers. Most were just there to eat. When I went to the bathroom later, I found it in such disrepair. Normally, mall bathrooms are well maintained and fragrant, not broken like this without renovation. Many shops in the mall are empty. It feels like this year has been tough for every industry, with most business owners silently enduring losses, continuing by borrowing money. They're all just struggling on. As the year draws to a close and a new year approaches, China's economic landscape has been marred by a series of unfavorable reports. According to Bloomberg, both the manufacturing and service sectors in China experienced a contraction in November, with performances falling short of expectation. This downturn is likely to heighten expectations for additional support from the Chinese government in efforts to revive the economy.
The biggest feeling this year is that everyone is out of money. The economic environment is there for all to see. Additionally, the collapse of the public credit system, both public and private, has created numerous pitfalls that are hard to avoid. Those with substantial wealth are fleeing, fearing their fortunes might be cunningly usurped. Those with less are losing confidence in the future and are afraid to spend. The ordinary people's savings, accumulated over the past 3 or 4 years, are nearly depleted. What's left for consumption? The real economy is said to be pushed to the brink of bankruptcy by e-commerce, yet the e-commerce sector itself is in the midst of an economic disaster. Some shopping platforms have already withdrawn from the Double 12 discount battles, unable to keep up. The lackluster performance during Double 11 has already given us the answer. Previously, only live stream rooms selling branded or counterfeit goods faced high rates of returns, with return rates of 30 to 40% or even higher being the norm. Those selling big brands, known for stable quality and transparent pricing, had almost no return rates. Now even the return rates for these big brands have reached 20%. Why? Because although consumers have shopping needs, they are constrained by limited budgets. After purchasing one item, they find another with better value for money, leading to frequent returns. Big-ticket items like cars aren't selling. Prices of some imported motorcycles have dropped significantly. This year, even agricultural products have lost value, with cabbages in supermarkets priced at less than 1 yuan each. Yesterday, I visited the Tangu foreign goods market and was shocked. A place that used to be bustling now looks like a site for ruined tourism. Every industry is out of money, so where has all the money gone?
On November 30th, the National Bureau of Statistics of China released a statement indicating a decline in the country's official Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, for November to 49.4, a decrease of 0.1 from the previous month. This figure falls below the 50-point threshold that separates expansion from contraction, suggesting a downturn in manufacturing activity. Market expectations for a rebound in the index to 51.1 were not met. The decline in new orders continued for the second consecutive month, with the sub-index for new report orders standing at only 46.3. Marking the 8th consecutive month of contraction. Unexpectedly, the non-manufacturing activity index, which measures activity in construction and services, dropped to 50.2, barely above the critical threshold of 50 and down from 50.6 in the previous period. This indicates a continued slowdown in China's significant service and construction sectors. The service sector business index fell to 49.3, down 0.8 from the previous month, while the construction sector index rose to 55.0, an increase of 1.5. These indicators suggest a potential across-the-board collapse in China's economy. Joel Hao, chief economist at Commerce Bank in Hong Kong, commented, "Today's PMI data will likely heighten expectations for policy support, with fiscal policy becoming a central focus in the coming year." Over the past 8 months, the Chinese Communist Party's policies to revive the manufacturing sector have shown limited success. The manufacturing PMI has continued to contract for 7 consecutive months, only rising to 50.2 in September. Many economists and analysts doubt the CCP's ability to maintain its target of around 5 annual economic growth for the next year. Without a shift in economic direction, China may face prolonged economic stagnation, unable to sustain growth. In addition to poor economic data and weakened domestic consumption, foreign businesses are losing hope in China's economic environment. Recent reports have discovered a significant withdrawal of foreign investments from China. A report from the Peterson Institute for International Economics, PIIE, noted that foreign capital divestment from China exceeded $100 billion in the first 3 quarters of this year and might continue to rise. The report mentioned that foreign companies are refusing to reinvest their profits in China, opting instead to sell their existing investments to Chinese firms and repatriating the proceeds, a trend previously rare. Another report by the Global Business Coalition, based on a survey of CEOs of 35 multinational companies in China, including American and European firms, revealed a sharp decline in the CEO Confidence Index for China, dropping from 72 to 54 out of a possible 100 points. The report heightened that the views of these foreign executives on China have become more cautious, attributing this change mainly to geopolitical tensions and the economic slowdown in China, making them perceive clear risk in their Chinese operations. The report also noted that current industrial demand in China is even lower than pre-pandemic levels, impacting capital investment plans for the next 6 months. The investment sentiment of most foreign companies in China dropped from 55 points in the first half of the year to 46 points. The confidence index for the future economic prospects in China fell from 54 points to 46 points, with nearly 1/3 of the surveyed foreign executives planning workforce reductions, a significant increase from the 9% in the previous survey. In reality, foreign investment concerns in China are not only due to the prolonged economic slowdown, but also factors like stringent US technology export controls accelerating the withdrawal of foreign capital from China. Additionally, modifications to China's counter-espionage laws have intensified foreign investors' apprehensions about the Chinese investment environment. A research assistant at the Chinese Academy of Economic Research, Guochen Wang, stated at a seminar on the situation in mainland China and cross-strait relations before and after the 2024 presidential election held on November 30th, that the actual economic conditions of China is more severe than it appears. Using official data released by the Chinese government, he estimated the actual growth rate of the economy by calculating the difference between expenditures in fixed investments, retails of consumer goods, housing sales, goods and service trade, and the gross domestic product, GDP, for the first 3 quarters of 2023, he found a shortfall of $1 trillion, accounting for 7.9% of the GDP. This suggests that the GDP figures have been inflated by as much as 10%. The discrepancies in GDP figures are mainly due to local governments inflating data to enhance their political achievements. Guochen Wang pointed out that the Chinese authorities are currently oscillating between 2 choices: stimulating the economy to restore market confidence and restructuring to lay a foundation for the long-term political and economic standoff between the United States and China. Regarding China's current economic policies, he believes that the country's monetary policy tools are nearing exhaustion. Approximately 90% of open market operations are being used to offset maturing funds, and the statutory deposits reserve ratio has approached a historic low of 7%. Despite issuing special government bonds worth hundreds of billions of dollars, the central government's budget deficit rate has risen to 3.8%, making the measures inadequate for the massive debt. Concerning when China's economy and housing market will bottom out, Guochen Wang suggests that signals of recovery would require the Chinese government to clearly define solutions for corporate debts, whether through bankruptcy, state enterprise takeover, or full deregulation. With a declining willingness of the public to purchase homes and sharp reduction in real estate companies' revenues, he advises that these issues should be addressed before 2024 to avoid exacerbating the economic recession and expanding the financial crisis, potentially leaving China unable to avert disaster. Acknowledging the inability of policies to rescue the market and the deepening economic crisis, the Chinese authorities understand the grave risks they currently face. Premier Li Qiang, in a recent meeting of the Central Financial Committee, emphasized the key role of the financial industry in supporting the real economy and reducing financial risks. Chinese President Xi Jinping's recent visit to Shanghai, his first since 2020, has been interpreted as a sign of concern about the current economic situation, drawing attention to the relevant policy agenda, especially in finance, technology, and welfare. Observers believe that the series of actions taken by the Chinese leadership amidst worsening economic difficulties indicates that Beijing is now in a desperate situation, with their measures exacerbating rather than alleviating the economic downturn. For instance, Yongding Yu, a prominent scholar at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, recently warned of the risk of stagflation due to Beijing's fiscal policies. He argued that China's GDP is mostly on a downward trend with very low inflation, reflecting insufficient domestic demand. Therefore, the government should urgently adopt expansionary fiscal and monetary policies to prevent the economic growth from stalling while prices rise, a situation referred to as stagflation. Yu even suggests that the government should be willing to break the cap of keeping the fiscal deficit to GDP ratio below 3 and the national debt to GDP ratio below 60. He emphasized that missing the opportunity to adopt expansionary fiscal policies could lead to economic stagnation. Yu's comments are often seen as indicative of the government's policy direction. Earlier in July, the National Development and Reform Commission of China issued measures to restore and expand consumption, outlining 6 directions and more than 20 policy measures. These include stabilizing bulk consumption, expanding service consumption, promoting rural consumption, expanding confident consumption, improving consumer facilities, and optimizing the consumption environment. The specific measures listed, such as optimizing car purchase restrictions and extending operating hours for catering establishments, align with Yu's advocacy for expansionary fiscal policies. However, other economists believe that these proposals and the government's actions, far from addressing the root of the problem, are likely to deepen China's economic crisis. The Tianzhe Economic Research Institute former Deputy Director Hao Jiang, in an interview, pointed out that Yongding Yu and the Chinese government have misidentified the key issues in China's economy. He suggested that government-initiated expansionary fiscal policies, while potentially boosting consumer confidence in a poor consumption environment, are ultimately limited in effect and fail to address the core problems. Tax cuts, he argued, might be more effective than large-scale investments in stimulating public consumption willingness. An independent financial scholar living in Australia, Ling Shi, believes that the main reason for China's lackluster domestic demand is not just that ordinary people lack money, but also the imbalance in medical and social service provisions. He noted that medical resources are concentrated in large cities, leaving ordinary people uncertain about when they might need to spend large amounts on healthcare, especially those with children who tend to save for their future needs. This situation, unless changed, prevents the release of economic potential of the general populace. The medical pressure on Chinese people stems partly from the government's 3-level 6th-grade medical resource allocation system. As of the end of 2021, there were 1,651 top-grade hospitals, with Beijing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Tianjin alone having 123, with Beijing having 38, more than in some entire provinces. This uneven distribution increases the medical cost for the public. Furthermore, according to the latest data from China's National Healthcare Security Administration, the number of people enrolled in basic medical insurance was 1.3 billion at the end of 2022, accounting for 95% of the total population, but 25.7 million less than in 2021 and even fewer than the previous year. Under the rule of the Chinese government, medical security does not necessarily guarantee free and equal access to medical resources. Rising premiums and narrow medical insurance benefits that do not cover major illnesses have led more Chinese people to opt out of insurance, choosing to save the money themselves. Senior independent Chinese economic analyst Shen Kun-chai suggested that to address economic issues, the government must resolve the reluctance of the populace to spend under the pressure of daily expenses and mortgage repayments. He proposed that the government issue $140 billion in consumer vouchers and require people to spend them within 6 months, seeing this as the most effective method to stimulate domestic demand. On the question of whether the Chinese government still has sufficient fiscal capacity to issue consumer vouchers, Chai indicated that the biggest reason for the depletion of China's fiscal funds is the government spending on unprofitable projects. He cited the high-speed rail project as an example, noting its escalating losses and its status as an upfront investment that has overstretch national finances. Moreover, with China's population continually decreasing, the high-speed rail in the eastern region is consistently unprofitable, with those in central areas even more so. In addition to high-speed rail, the government's stability maintenance expenditure is also alarmingly high, even exceeding military spending. Both central and local governments are actively organizing large international events such as the Hangzhou Asian Games, which local governments are incapable of hosting, ultimately leading to the central government footing the bill. This results in continuous financial investment in one project after another, a widespread phenomenon. From the government's policies, it is evident that they are not addressing China's economic issues fundamentally. In fact, it could be said that the authorities are not willing to sacrifice the party's interest to save the Chinese economy and improve the lives of the people. Currently, the government's policies are merely using policies rhetoric to trick funds out of the hands of people to boost the economy. Only a complete change in political stance and addressing the root problem of not having enough money can truly solve the dire state of China's economy. Both domestic and future markets are the products of a free economy, which must be based on fairness and the rule of law. If the Chinese government continues to replace rule of law with rule by man and fails to address the issue of investors frequently breaking regulations, it will be difficult to restore foreign investors' confidence in investing in China.